And at 10, Entei. Entei is just a giant dog, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the real issue comes from when this dog is considering himself to be your father. Yeah, that's actually a thing. For those of you who don't know, Pokemon the Movie 3 was about Entei and the Spell of the Unknown, as indicated by the name of the movie. The movie follows Ash and the gang as they set out to, wait for it, save a girl who was basically brainwashed by Unknown after those same Unknown sucked her father into their dimension. Then, after she discovers those Unknown, they create an illusionary Entei that is meant to represent her father. This Entei then spends the movie being hella creepy and protective of this little girl. And along with the help of the Unknown, they create a load of ice spikes to defend their house, and it gets really weird. And then Entei kidnaps her mother and then brings her to Molly, who's the child, who doesn't believe her literal mother when she says that Entei isn't your dad. Like, this is literally the creepiest version of Entei. He has some serious, Hollywood director vibes. You know what I mean. Like, he's a little too fond of Molly. I know this is a kid's movie and that's not the intention, but just the way he's voice acted and stuff just makes him really terrifying. And at 9, Hoopa. Hoopa confined and unbound versions are some of the creepiest things in these games. Sure, the normal confined Hoopa isn't all that scary, but unbound Hoopa is the stuff of nightmares. Just look at the unbound version. This thing has 5 arms, 2 legs, a giant tail, and rings that he can turn into portals Doctor Strange and Sonic style. The face is also forever present in my darkest of nightmares. This thing looks like a weird messed up dinosaur. The hook on the nose is only matched by the likes of Iago or Toucan Sam. Ebenezer Scrooge has nothing on unbound Hoopa. The fangs with the teeth and then the horns and the hole in its chest, it's all terrifying and one of the most haunting things that you can think of. Why doesn't he have an equal number of arms on each side? It's so confusing. He looks like he should. Why doesn't he? And at 8, Deoxys. Deoxys was the FNAF puppet before the FNAF puppet. Deoxys is one of the few actual confirmed alien Pokemon that doesn't control some aspect of reality. Deoxys is one of the only Pokemon to have multiple different versions, and might have been the first with this ability. There's the normal form, the attack form, the defense form, and the speed form, and while they each look cool in their own way, they're also terrifying in their own way too. The tentacles that Deoxys has were always off-putting to me, and it didn't help that it's fairly creepy in the movie as well. The attack form is probably the scariest form since it has spikes on the knees and behind its head, but the other forms aren't the most comforting either, especially when it can turn its tentacles into an actual hand and then change it back. I don't like it, honestly. I mean, I like the Pokemon, like, it's actually a really sick Pokemon, but actually looking for scary legendaries has made me see it in a different way. And at 7, Meltan/Melmetal. Meltan was the first mythical Pokemon to have an evolution. This Pokemon was introduced in Pokemon Go of all places, and caused me all sorts of confusion. On September 22nd, 2018, the Pokemon appeared during the Pokemon Go Community Day as ? And wasn't officially revealed until September 25th. So for 3 days, we were all confused about the new Pokemon. It was also later revealed as the only mythical Pokemon to evolve, requiring 400 candies to do so, and not being able to evolve any other way. Like if you transfer a Meltan into Pokemon Let's Go, you can't evolve it. You can only evolve it by getting 400 candies in Pokemon Go. But no need to lose your head over it, since Meltan can do the same. It's actually a key plot point in the episode Got Meltan of the Pokemon anime, where a Meltan befriends Ash's Rowlet after it helped that Meltan find its Hex Nut, which had previously fallen off. Melmetal, however, is just like a beast. Picture a Ditto that got exposed to the gamma rays that created the Hulk. That's what Melmetal is. Oh, and Gigantamax Melmetal is an entirely different story. These are just terrifying in the later stages. It's actually very concerning because I have a Melmetal as my buddy in Pokemon Go. And at 6, Zygarde. Zygarde is another Pokemon to have 3 different forms. However, at first there was only the one. The 50% form was the first one introduced in Pokemon X and Y, followed by the 10% and 100% forms in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The 10% form is nothing to fear, it's just a green and black dog, but the 50 and 100% forms are freaking nuts. The 50% version is like a giant snake with like peacock-like tendrils coming out of its back, sticking up in the air like it's ready to attack. Hey, I rhymed. This version is also taller than the 100% form, standing at 16 feet 5 inches, whereas the 100% is a measly 14 feet 9 inches. It's also a beast, and while shorter, the design of the complete form makes it look like all the Power Rangers have come together to defeat a giant villain. This is literally the Megazord of Pokemon. Having to combine all the different pieces of it to get the 100% form, it's pure genius, actually, but also terrifying. Halfway through at number 5, Regidrago. They added more Regis. Yes, this ball of pink has 2 giant arms in the form of a dragon's skull. This actually looks dope, not gonna lie, but it's also scary when you realize that this dude will clap your cheeks. And I mean that in the most literal sense of the word. One clap and you just got a giant stone dragon skull bite down on your body with over 600 pounds of pressure per square inch. And those teeth look hella sharp. Hell, even if you became friends with this thing, you wouldn't be able to hug it. He's over 6 feet tall, nearly 7, meaning that those arms would fully engulf your body, causing instant death the moment he wants to applaud your achievements. Yeah, stay in your Pokeball please and thank you. And at number 4, Arceus. Arceus, or Arceus, whatever you want to call it, was basically the response to the rumor of the Pokemon gods, like Charcolt and the other main starter 4th evolutions. Arceus was introduced in Generation 4, the Diamond and Pearl era. Arceus is also known as the original one, and is said to have created the Sinnoh and Ranzai regions. Ranzai is a region that appeared in Pokemon Conquest. Arceus is also potentially the creator of the entire Pokemon universe as well, not to mention the Lake Guardians, Azelf, Medspirit, and Uxie, along with the creation trio of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Arceus also has the ability to change its type on command by holding different elemental plates, and takes on the weaknesses of that typing, as well as changing the color of its golden ring around its torso. Having to duke it out or even try to catch the god of the Pokemon universe is terrifying. And not to mention, if he didn't appreciate that and then went after you with all of his power, he can literally just sing and you're dead in 5 turns. Like what? And at 3, Darkrai. Darkrai is the original creeper Pokemon. Well, the original creeper legendary. Hypno is and forever will be the creepier Pokemon. However, Darkrai is one rude mother hubber because he is here to ruin your day. Well, actually your night. Darkrai is the pitch black Pokemon and loves to feast on dreams, but not just any dreams. No, this psycho loves nightmares. If Darkrai causes you to have nightmares, they'll never end. You'll be stuck in a coma-like state with constant nightmares, unless exposed to the lunar wing from Cresselia. Both Darkrai and Cresselia are the lunar duo, basically counteracting each other and being polar opposites. Do I need to explain why Darkrai is scary? Like if that's not obvious, you don't know Pokemon. He was the original scariest Pokemon. And at 2, Giratina. Giratina is typically seen as the scariest legendary Pokemon, and it's easy to see why. Both the altered and origin form of Giratina are meant to look like the Pokemon Grim Reaper, with tattered wings and a dark color scheme composed of gray, red, dark yellow, and black. The Pokemon also lives in the distortion world, or reverse world, an alternate dimension where the laws of physics have no meaning. Giratina represents antimatter, which I'm sure you'll understand why that makes him scary, especially if you've read or seen the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline from DC Comics. Giratina, according to the Pokedex in Pokemon Platinum, Black, White, Black 2, White 2, Y, and Alpha Sapphire, was banished to the distortion world for its violence. This dude likes to scrap, and you should never fight someone who likes to fight. That's a bad idea. Finally, in at number 1, Eternatus. Eternatus is one overpowered beast, and its Eternamax form is nothing short of the most aggressively horrific thing you'll ever see in a Pokemon game. This Pokemon is what created the Dynamax phenomenon in Pokemon Sword and Shield. According to the Shield Pokedex entry, the Eternamax form is also absorbing the energy from the Galar region, making it weaker while powering up itself. It even ends up absorbing all the energy in Galar, thanks to Rose's meddling. Way to go, Rose, you just Pokemon. It pours out infinite amounts of energy and warps space and time around it. And what do you have to do in game? Catch it! You are literally holding a ticking time bomb in your pocket for the purposes of what? Beating the game a countless number of times? Sure, you had to catch it to save humanity, but do you know how terrifying that makes Eternatus? Its name even implies it's immortal. And what will you do when you die of old age? You'll either have to keep it in a Pokeball or let it loose, which will spell inevitable doom for society. So there's no winning here. You're just dead. You're dead. Way to go, Game Freak. We're dead. Thanks. Actually, thank you.
Number 10, Dracovish. Dracovish is horrifying for all Pokemon types that it represents. It's just high up on the list in general. It fits into a few different categories, including water and fossil in addition to dragon. It honestly is one of the strangest shapes and looks like a cross between a fish and some kind of weird, spiky, geometrical lizard. Its jaw is what you want to watch out for though, as it has an epically powerful bite. If you ever ran into a Dracovish, you want to just keep your limbs as safely far away as possible. Just keep those arms and legs tucked in, my friends. Oh, and keep your eyes on this Pokemon as well. Despite its tiny little legs, it's known for moving quickly. It's able to run up to 40 miles or 60 kilometers per hour. That is fast. Number 9, Zekrom. When the storms start, that's when you'll want to watch out for Zekrom. Zekrom is a dragon and electric type legendary Pokemon. It might look a little silly with its giant tail, but it uses that tail as an electricity generator to create storms. So definitely not something you'd want to tease Zekrom about. Unless you like getting struck by bolts of lightning, I guess. Zekrom often hides itself up among thunderclouds and can fly effortlessly using its anti-grav field to keep it safely up in the air. So its wings are really more for show than purpose. It looks like a frightening, dark, metallic dragon, something that would be completely unstoppable if you ran into it on a stormy night. And just a reminder before we move on to that next point to click that like button if you like dragon type Pokemon as much as we do. Number 8, Garchomp. Garchomp looks like a pterodactyl and a plane had a baby. It's got like a little plane head, and I know that makes it sound ridiculous, but trust me, it's still pretty terrifying. This is a dragon and a ground type Pokemon with legendary stats but no official legendary title. It has spikes on its arms and legs and single pronged claws. It also has razor sharp teeth and is known for being a predator. Despite being a ground type as well, Garchomp can also fly at amazing speeds, as fast as the airplane it already resembles. It's like being chased by an airplane with claws and teeth. Yikes. Number 7, Mega Garchomp. Just to upgrade the horror that is Garchomp, we have the Mega Garchomp evolution. Normally I'd lump Mega evolutions into the main point for the same Pokemon, but this one appears so much more terrifying with its scythe-like arms. I just felt it had to have its own point. It had earned it. Fortunately, at least this much more horrifying version of Garchomp is estimated to be about the same size as its unupgraded evolution, but even normally Garchomp is known for being a beast. It is 6 foot 3 inches tall, which means it's also likely got an insane wingspan and length as well. Not a predator you'd want to see gliding above you, possibly looking for a lunchtime or midnight snack. Number 6, Druddigon. Traditional looking dragons are of course always still scary, which is why I was compelled to include Druddigon on our list. It looks like a dragon if someone just cut it out of like a piece of paper with those wavy or crinkly crafting scissors. Do you guys remember those scissors? Does anyone else have those? You can like cut things and then all the lines are already wavy. It also appears to have a bit of a squashed nose. Because it's also so jagged at all edges, however, this seems to also be a Pokemon who is not the cuddly type. I feel like it looks really spiky. It looks just like it's got spikes on every edge of its surface. Druddigon is a straight up dragon type with no evolutions. Honestly, when you're looking at this frightening and intimidating looking dragon, who really needs evolutions, am I right? Number 5, Regidrago. I don't know if it's strange that I find this Pokemon horrifying to gaze upon, but I do. It's both frightening and mystifying in terms of its appearance. Regidrago is a legendary dragon type Pokemon and is known for being one of the legendary titans. Its arms are made up of a dragon's mouth attached to its spherical shaped body. It wields the power of every dragon type and is believed to have the most powerful moves of all other dragon type Pokemon. It is made up of crystallized dragon energy, which gives it this immense power. When attacking with a fire attack, it puts its arms together to create a mouth from which the fire spews at its opponent. Number 4, Kyurem. Kyurem looks like something out of my nightmares. It's a legendary dragon type who fires powerful icy blasts from its head. It not only has sharp icicle claws but also boasts of ferocious fangs as well. Kyurem has also been referred to as the most powerful of all dragon types. It is a dragon slash ice Pokemon who you definitely only want to fight if you feel confident in your chances at winning, as fleeing isn't really an option when it comes to fighting Kyurem, who possesses an ability called Glaciate, which specifically targets its opponent's speed. Number 3, Rayquaza. This dragon type Pokemon is another legendary type who is known for being massive. Even when not in their mega evolution, Rayquaza is originally a 23 feet long flying green dragon who resembles more of your traditional Chinese style dragon. It also looks a little bit like a sea serpent with all of its brightly colored fins. Rayquaza is obviously a flying dragon type, and its bright reptile-like eyes and sharp fangs only add to its monstrous appearance. Despite how scary it might look flying overhead, it only has 2 fangs though, so it could probably plummet into you with enough force to just crush you, but when it comes to a bite attack, it's almost toothless, so at least you only have to worry about, every other foot of this beast other than its head. It could also probably still swallow you whole because it's massive, so maybe do worry about its head, actually. Number 2, Haxorus. Haxorus just looks like it is ready to slice and dice you up with its face. It's basically got a double-edged axe on its head. It is the final evolution of the most adorable baby Axew, but don't let this baby evolution lull you into a false sense of security. Axew, in its final evolution of Haxorus, is one frightening and sharp Pokemon. In addition to its axe blade-like tusks, it is also armed with short red claws and long pointed talon-like feet, all the better to scratch you with after it's already chopped you up to death. Number 1, Giratina. Giratina is one of the most horrifying of all the dragon types out there because it is not only part ghost type but also represents some kind of giant monstrous insect with wings in either form. Giratina is also a legendary Pokemon, as most dragons it seems are. Its wings are also capable of shape-shifting while it is in its altered form, and in this form it has 6 legs and no arms to speak of. In its origin form, it looks like some kind of serpent meets bug creature. Each gold ring along its side is capable of latching onto and grappling objects or people. Each ring also has black tendrils flowing out of it with a sharp red spike at the end. This is a Pokemon of my nightmares. When its tendrils are spread out, it also looks like some kind of weird, long spider. I normally like spiders, but not ones that can fly and are a massive 22 feet tall, like Giratina is while in its origin form. Dragon types are some terrifying Pokemon in general, especially as they are some of the largest Pokemon out there, and many of them can also fly. There is also a reason the dragons as a creature have continued to survive in stories and make their way to pop culture and gaming phenomena such as Pokemon. They are noble but fearsome beasts, something you would surely stand in awe of, and also probably run from, eventually.
And at 10, Gyarados. Shiny Gyarados is probably one of the most famous shinies in the world, being the first guaranteed shiny to my knowledge in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, as well as their remakes, appearing in the Lake of Rage as a set encounter. According to the anime, Red Gyarados is created when a Magikarp is forced to evolve, not having the time to change its scale color to blue, but like, holy hell is this thing scary. Appearing at a location called the Lake of Rage and being red, a color often associated with rage, blood, and fury, can make for one intimidating Pokemon. Especially when the Magikarp to Gyarados evolution is probably the scariest change or evolution, hands down. Magikarp is basically harmless until like level 15 when it learns Tackle, and then Gyarados is like 5 levels after that, and it's always been a force to be reckoned with, especially its mega shiny form. That is true terror. And at 9, Eevee. If you've been a fan of this channel for a while, you may remember the Eevee Creepypastas that had their own little series on the channel. The top 10 scariest Eevee Creepypastas, along with the top 10 scariest Eevee Creepypastas you've never heard. Yeah, we're creative with titles. However, those have forever warped my perception of shiny Eevee. In one of those Creepypasta videos, there was a shiny Eevee that was red instead of the normal white, which was incredibly cool to the author, so they captured it and fought with it until the Eevee was hit with a hydro pump that washed off the red, revealing that it was a normal shiny Eevee. That Eevee then totally destroyed its opponent, covering itself in blood once more, turning it back to red. And now that's what I think of every time I think of shiny Eevee, and I can't get it out of my head, okay? This list is subjective and mine, so I'm allowed to put Eevee on here. By the way, we're trying something new, so if you are enjoying this video, please let us know by hitting the like button. It really helps us out and we can figure out what you'd like to see more of. Okay, let's keep going. And an 8, Corviknight. Don't get me wrong, shiny Corviknight is beautiful and something I'm 100% going to hunt, but I've already talked about how this Pokemon is terrifying, multiple times in fact. So to go from that to what looks like a fully metal bird is the stuff of nightmares. Not to even think about its Gigantamax version. The Sword Pokedex even says that the black luster of its steel body could drive terror into the heart of any foe, but what if the body was pure metal? Have you seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice? When Nicolas Cage makes the metal eagle on the Empire State Building or whatever it is fly, that's literally Corviknight's shiny form, and those things are terrifying. A giant metal bird flying at your face? No thank you. And not to mention that there are 8 feathers on its back that are called blade birds that can attack foes individually, okay? This Pokemon is already scary. The shiny thing just makes it even worse. And it's 7, Duskull. I think Duskull's line of shinies is probably one of the most disappointing, at least in the Diamond and Pearl gen. The Duskull and Dusclops shinies are so nice. They're pink, which makes them look like they're blood-soaked, and then there's Dusk Noir, where they literally throw the whole pink thing out and make him blue. Like, come on Game Freak, don't do this to me. Sure, it was added later, but keep the shiny forms consistent. While this may be scary because of the final shiny being drastically different, like I said before, making Duskull pink just makes him look blood-soaked. While I could go on about shiny legendaries and how they're scary to begin with, I think the shiny of this Pokemon actually makes it scary. Duskull is kinda cute honestly, one of my favorite Gen 4 Pokemon, but like, turning him pink makes me think he's gonna go on a killing spree and then he doesn't stop being cute after that. It's like if Chucky was actually a proper doll instead of a baby secret knockoff, okay? Blood-soaked ghost Pokemon? Yeah, bye. And at 6, Charizard. Charizard is another one of those shinies that comes out of nowhere. Charmander and Charmeleon both lean towards the yellow end of the shiny spectrum, and then there's Charizard, who comes in like Alduin and screws shit up. Looking into the sky and seeing a Charizard is normal in the Pokemon world, but looking up and seeing a big black dragon isn't. Like I said, it's like Skyrim and Pokemon had a baby and out came shiny Charizard. I don't care how lame you think Charizard is, how overrated you think he is, or how powerful you think he is. You see a giant black dragon and you run, okay? I don't know why, but for some reason all the black dragons are the most powerful ones, and I don't want to stick around to see if Charizard is any different. I'm just gonna run and hope that it doesn't bite my head off in Sovngarde after I've come there to save all of Tamriel. Sorry, that's Alduin again. I keep getting them confused. Halfway through number 5, Trevenant. What's worse than a wandering soul who dies in the forest, possesses a tree stump, and then evolves into a possessed tree Lorax who will actually kill anyone who tries to cut down a tree? A wandering soul who dies in a forest, possesses a tree stump, evolves into a possessed tree Lorax who actually kills people, that looks like a ghost. Yeah, all that to say because it looks like a ghost. And I'm not wrong, it actually looks like it's a tree on fire, which is really ironic when you think about it. The tree trunk of shiny Trevenant is white, which it would be if it was set on fire, at least after it was done being on fire. And then the leaves are red as if they're flames. That is kinda torturing a Pokemon that wants to protect the forest but also has a fear of fire Pokemon. But also, what makes a Trevenant or Phantom shiny? Like, since they're people who got lost in a forest, what is the prerequisite of that person to make the actual Pokemon shiny? Let me know your theories down below. And at 4, Darkrai. Darkrai has made it onto my scariest legendary Pokemon list, okay? It may be a mythical Pokemon, but in all honesty, mythical Pokemon are still a form of legendary, so chill out. Darkrai is a freaking beast, okay? Having control over nightmares and can put you in a coma with a single touch. This Pokemon is the Prince of Darkness, pitch black aside from his hair and I guess it's beard? Or is that a scarf? It doesn't matter. He only has a few colors, but just wait until you see his shiny. Boom! You looking for this? Yeah, the Prince of Darkness turns pink, but like the darkest pink known to man. There's dark pink and then there's Darkrai pink. And while this shiny may be beautiful, I don't know why, but it just puts me on edge. Just thinking about the original scariest Pokemon being pink and purple just throws me off. And the dark pink thing is really unsettling. Like how kids say really creepy crap. It's like my daughter just said that she was murdered in her past life and the body was buried under the house, okay? I don't know why, it just is. I said daughter because I hope to have a daughter, not because it's pink, so chill out in the comments, don't say anything about, oh, your son in generals. And at 3, Rayquaza. This is the same idea as Charizard. While seeing a Rayquaza flying around isn't as common unless you're the protagonist of a Pokemon anime, the thought of seeing a black Rayquaza fly overhead is enough to shake the bones. The color of black in the Pokemon universe is often associated with darkness. Dark caves, dark type Pokemon, Pokemon considered evil such as Darkrai, Necrozma, and Zekrom, who people may see as evil even if they aren't, and a giant flying snake is something to run from despite its color, or the fact that it will be impossible to see against a night sky. I talked about this literally yesterday, so I don't think I need to go into too much detail, but it's scary. Trust me. And at 2, Haxorus. Haxorus's shiny is similar to that of Charizard or Rayquaza, but also different. It's a black shiny, which is always sick and scary at the same time, but it's a deeper black than the others, and has other shades mixed in that make the black look darker and scarier, at least on its legs and belly. The rest of this Pokemon is the normal Pokemon black, but with the highlights of red on his toes, fingers, and face blades that are only meant to represent the flesh trapped underneath after years of tearing Pokemon and trainers to shreds. This Pokemon is a set encounter in Pokemon Black and White too, but I don't know if you want having this Pokemon on your team on your conscience. Even if he's in your box, he can probably wreak havoc amongst the other Pokemon, even if they're supposed to be just code. Like, this guy is a living creepypasta, and that just doesn't sit right with me. Finally, in at number 1, Gengar. Gengar's shiny is scarier than all the others because, well, it's scary bad. This shiny Pokemon is literally 2 shades darker, and that's the shiny. Sure, there are other Pokemon like that, like take Pikachu for example, but the other shinies on this line are beautiful. I spent like 8 hours hunting for a shiny Ghastly in Pokemon Let's Go, and the whole time I was just taken aback by how beautiful it is. And Shiny Haunter, while not as drastic, has a beautiful change in mouth color that sets it apart from the rest. Gengar is just a little darker. In the recently released Crown Tundra DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield, they actually changed the shiny. They've done this before, but this time is the first time in a while. But out of all the Pokemon they decided to change, they changed Combuskin. Really? Who was asking for that? We have been begging Game Freak to fix the shiny Pokemon that are only a shade or two darker, and they decide to change Combuskin? Not Blaziken, not Pikachu, not Tauros, who some people hate, not Gengar, but Combuskin. Okay. Oh, and the shiny Mega Gengar is absolutely horrifying, okay? A giant ghost that actually looks like it's a ghost finally. It's like King Boo on steroids, yikes. And at 10, Regidrago. Regidrago was introduced into the Legendary Titans by the Crown Tundra DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield. This Regi is said to have the strongest power of any electric-type Pokemon, and was sealed away due to how dangerous it was. This dude even looks menacing as all hell. The man is shooting electricity from 3 different places on its body, enough to fry anyone within a 10-foot radius. He is capable of generating all the Galar region's electricity, according to the Shield Dex. And according to Sword, if you remove the rings on his body, you will unleash this Pokemon's full power. Yeah, he ain't even at 100% yet, it's like Shaggy. So needless to say, this dude is a freaking monster, and not the pocket kind. You thought the 10,000 volt ghost from Scooby-Doo was bad? Regidrago is like 20 times that on an off day. And at 9, Thundurus. Thundurus is one of the weather trio from the Unova region, introduced as a wandering legendary and annoying as hell to catch. This man is a freaking genie that controls lightning and storms and is a prankster. This guy will strike you with a bolt of lightning for fun. He will laugh his ass off while frying your home with constant lightning strikes. And if that's not bad enough, this guy's Therian form is whack. It looks like a genie took some form of illicit substance and became a freak. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. This guy must be juicing. And is it a coincidence that these first 2 are electric types? No, this guy can destroy an entire group of people by just electrocuting some water. Oh, and he can fly and can change routes so fast that he breaks the sound barrier. So, saying this guy, especially in his Therian form, isn't scary is an injustice, and I will execute you. And at 8, Galarian Moltres. Normal Moltres looks fine to me. They're red and basically a dragon, whatever. But Galarian Moltres is a terrifying abomination. Introduced in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC, this regional variant of Moltres is black with pink flames, talons, belly, and face. This is freaking nuts. The dude has 2 tails, for God's sake. Not to mention it's now dark and flying type, not fire and flying. Or hell, even dark and fire would make more sense. I know it has wings, so it should be flying, but Gyarados is also a flying type, or at least it was, so we can ignore what would make sense. Looking at Galarian Moltres, you cannot tell me this beast isn't scary. This thing looks like a pterodactyl. It's gonna swoop in and carry me away while I'm at a cafe eating breakfast before the day of mass murdering Pokemon in the wild for the purposes of gaining experience points. I can feel the flames already and they don't feel good. You wanna know what makes a fire magenta like that? Potassium sulfate and potassium nitrate. Potassium, you know, the stuff that reacts violently with water that the teacher shows you but says they shouldn't show you so you can all think they're cool. Yeah, since that stuff can react with your skin or even just the moisture in the air, that's a no thank you, sir. And at 7, Regidrago. Another Regi on this list? Yes. Why? Because Regidrago is meant to be the master of the Legendary Titans. Being a normal type, that's pretty impressive since nobody really cares about the normal types. I'm sorry, but it's true. 1 ghost type with fighting moves and you're good for the gym. But this guy, just look at him. Which ones are his eyes? Are they the black dots in the center or the colored ones to either side? I don't know. This guy is a beast. Sure, he has a slow start, but this man is 12 feet tall and just under 1,000 pounds, so he will crush you with even the slightest bit of pressure. He could flick you and you would be able to meet Deoxys. I'm telling you, you don't want this guy on your bad side. And considering how you can only wake him up if you have all the other Regis, dude, holy crap, that's some serious aura energy. While he may not be the most obviously scary Pokemon, him being the leader of all the Legendary Titans, he can send them all after you. 1 wrong move and you're toastier than my morning sandwich. Okay, not really, but that's only because I don't eat breakfast. And and it's because of this guy. And at 6, Heatran. Heatran is a fire steel type Pokemon introduced in Diamond and Pearl, and this guy is freaky as hell. He may not look like it, but with those legs and the ability to climb up walls, this guy is basically a giant lava spider, and I'm not okay with it. This is one of, if not the only legendary Pokemon to have a biological sex, even if the Pokemon doesn't have an egg group. Sure, it may be low to the ground at 5'7", but I know people who are shorter than that, and that's honestly terrifying. Especially when at only 5'7", thanks to all the steel, he also weighs in at nearly 1,000 pounds. He's actually heavier than Regidrago, who is only 420 kilograms, plays it. This guy is 430 kilos. His abilities are Flash Fire, which makes fire actually heal him, and Flame Body, meaning that it's possible to catch on fire while even being close to this guy. Why? Why does this have to be a thing? First, you make me need to catch a giant lava spider, but then you also make it possible for it to set me on fire with one touch, or crush me with one leg, and make him around my height? This guy is like 3 inches shorter than me. Hell no! Not okay. Halfway through number 5, Spectrier. The only form of undead or spooky horse I want in my life is Arbok or Shadowmere, okay? Spectrier is a ghost-type legendary introduced in Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC. This Pokemon on its own is spooky, but, you know, since it's a ghost of a horse. But using the Reins of Unity, it can combine with Calyrex to become Shadow Rider Calyrex. Pokemon literally has its own version of the Headless Horseman now. Well, maybe it's not headless, but it's certainly damn close. This combination of Spectrier and Calyrex is damn strong. With special attack stack of 165 and speed of 150, this dude is going to speed right through you, creating a magical hole as it goes through, leaving you as another ghost to wander in the Pokemon world. Maybe you'll become a Yamask, forced to carry around your own face and crying whenever you see it, because you know that's also a thing. Yet you don't mess with the forces of death itself. And at 4, Groudon. Groudon isn't the scariest of the weather trio, I'll admit it, but I've already used Rayquaza, and if you think about it, this dude can cause droughts wherever he goes, potentially ruining all crop yields all over the world. Sure, Kyogre could probably reverse it, but Kyogre is limited to water, whereas Groudon can walk on land, where all the crops really are. Not only that, but he is 11'6" and over 2,000 pounds, and his primal form, he gets the ability Desolate Land, which I don't think I need to explain why that's bad. He also grows 5 feet and gains 200 pounds. Groudon is a freaking beast, and if left unchecked, he will wipe out humanity. You know the apocalypse stories or games where like the land is all ruined, cracked, and there's hardly any water? That's because of Groudon. There is no telling the sheer amount of destruction he could cause just because someone woke him up, and that's kind of my energy. And Team Magma just goes ahead and wakes him up, right? Why is it that the evil team always plans on using the potentially world-ending Pokemon for their own gain? Do they not realize how monumentally stupid that is? And at 3, Palkia. Palkia is one of the first Pokemon ever. Created by Arceus along with Dialga and Giratina, it's a member of the Creation Trio and controls the aspect of space. This motherfucker is 13 feet tall and nearly 800 pounds, and I'm supposed to think he looks cuddly? This guy has razor blades that stretch from his pelvis to his tail. He has the face of my nightmares, but it's very similar to the faces of Dialga and Giratina. He's Pokemon 484, but he should be Pokemon 666. Why is he water type? That makes no sense. Just let him be dragon type. Those wings are like blades as well, like the folding fans that Katana uses in Mortal Kombat, but 30 times bigger and attached to this dude's back. He will come flying at you, then cut you right down the middle with those bad boys. And not to mention his toes. And I thought my feet were bad. Oh my god. And this monster has a spike for a heel that looks like he's wearing some stilettos of death. Yeah. And ultimately in at number 2, Type Null. Type Null is known as the synthetic Pokemon, but honestly, it's just a chimera. It was created by Faba and the Aether Foundation, and its codename was the Beast Killer, and the Pokemon was developed with cells from every known Pokemon type. Basically, they tried making another Arceus, and they kind of succeeded, since that helmet it wears is meant to suppress its power to stable levels. It's basically the Nephilim of Pokemon. You know Jack from Supernatural, how overpowered he was? Yeah, that's Type Null, but in the Pokemon universe. This guy is so crazy overpowered without that helmet that they added blades that will cut your whole damn hand off if you try to take it off. I wouldn't be surprised if the helmet blades start spinning if you get too close, okay? Like, Jesus! Finally, in at number 1, White Kyurem and Black Kyurem. Last part we had Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem on the list, but we didn't have the fusion forms of White and Black Kyurem. These monsters were absolutely terrifying. First we got White Kyurem. We get some additional icy detail on the legs, a tail very similar to the absolute dump truck that Reshiram has, but looking even more like a cannon this time around. Like if Kyurem and Reshiram had an armored child that was hellbent on destroying the world, that's all I can say. Then we got Black Kyurem. This dude has the same features but with a more aggressive stance, with wings up on his back and those teeth looking ready to tear me apart at any minute. His arms are huge, like Popeye had a baby with just a geode, and he could just crush me. I can't even fathom the sheer terror I feel when looking at these Pokemon. I don't know why I didn't include them sooner. This is just pure horror. Horror in its finest form. No thank you. You think Pokemon is a kid's game? Try again.
And at 10, Mimikyu. Mimikyu is the Chihuahua of Pokemon. Really tiny but aggressive as hell when it wants to be. Mimikyu is known as the disguised Pokemon, and it's clear to see why. The Pokemon wears a rag designed to look like Pikachu because of Pikachu's popularity. Mimikyu is a lonely Pokemon who hopes that this disguise will help it make friends, but this comes with a catch. You can't actually look at its normal appearance. Perhaps it's ashamed or has some self-image issues, but this need to be hidden has caused people to think that seeing this Pokemon's true form will result in a painful death. It can also hold a grudge, tracking down a Pokemon who broke the disguise after repairing it all night, fearing that its true face could have been exposed. It's unforgiving and won't rest until it tracks you down once more. Looking at this thing will kill you, it hunts you down like some sort of serial killer, and it even sided with Team Rocket because it saw Pikachu and got jealous. This is one bad Mamajamma, and he's also pretty scary. And at 9, Trevenant. Trevenant is the Lorax of Pokemon. First of all, it can only evolve after a trade, which is scary to those of us with no friends, but it also evolves from Phantom, a Pokemon who is just a stump possessed by the spirit of a dead child. Man, this is a Pokemon list and we're already getting into FNAF territory. Leaving the fact that this is a literal dead child to the side, Trevenant will literally kill people. It will trap them in the forest for all of eternity if they try and mess with nature, like chopping down trees. And he doesn't need to do this himself. He has the ability to control other trees using his roots. He can possess any tree in the forest by using them, and this means that no matter where you are, if you chop a tree in a forest guarded by one of these or even multiple Trevenant, you're screwed, buddy. You'll end up getting trapped in the forest and join the Phantom army. Also, how are there wild Trevenants? Like, how does trading help Pokemon evolve? Is it the power of being abandoned that fuels the evolution? If you can only get it evolving by trading it, how are there Trevenants in the wild? I don't know. And at 8, Yamask. Yamask is holding a mask of their face while they were human. I don't think there's much else to say. That Pokemon was a human and then became a Pokemon in death. And then they retain all the memories of their former life. The Pokemon Black Dex even says that sometimes they look at the mask they carry, that was their former face, remember, and cry over it. That's depressing. Yamask is also one of the few Pokemon, actually it's not really a few, there are plenty of Pokemon that used to be human. Kadabra, for example, is described as being human once. Phantom, like I just talked about, is another Pokemon that used to be human. Man, there are plenty of Pokemon that used to actually have human souls or something similar. That really makes me think about why this game is marketed towards kids. We literally have a Pokemon who is being tortured by having former memories of being free and then is enslaved as a Yamask for all of eternity. That's not safe for kids. And at 7, Aegislash. Aegislash doesn't look that intimidating when you look at him straight on. He's just a sword with a shield and he can switch between the two, you know, depending on what move he's using. But this thing is literally a possessed sword. It's a sentient sword and this is his final form. This is the most powerful he can get. And he's a sentient sword. That's freaking nuts, okay? Have you stopped to consider the implications of this? There is a species of sentient swords in the Pokemon universe, and if they decide they don't like you, you're boned. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is no coming back from that, especially when you realize that these two were once people. Honedge is said to be born from a person's soul after they were killed by the sword that they reside in, meaning this person was brutally murdered by a sword, they instantly possessed that sword, and then evolved twice into the death machine we call Aegislash. Not to mention that the sash that comes out of the sword will suck the life out of anyone who tries to grab the handle. Awesome. And at 6, Delmise. Let me just read out a quick quote from the wiki. Delmise prefers large prey such as Whalmer or Whalelord. The heavy anchor can be swung with enough force to knock out its prey in a single blow. The victim is then enveloped in seaweed, which can be stretched for hundreds of yards, and its life force is drained. What the actual if you seek A? The scary actual design of the Pokemon is straight up horrifying, and the actual Pokemon is just the seaweed, so you're saying that this thing intentionally wraps itself around the anchor in an effort to make it look like sharp teeth? and then like a really menacing smile. Plus, this thing has enough balls to hunt Wailmer and Wailord. Do you know how big a Wailord is? 47 feet and 7 inches long. And that's not to mention the fact that it weighs 877.4 pounds. Like, I know it's hard to tell, but I'm a skinny guy. If Delamise can knock out a 877 pound whale with just one hit of its anchor, I'm screwed. It will just straight up kill me. And the Pokemon is just the seaweed that it can then collect more of. That's the scariest damn thing I can think of in the water, okay? And this thing isn't even a water type. It's ghost and grass. What the hell? Why are you in the water? Leave me alone. Halfway through number 5, Runerigus. Runerigus is the Galarian version of Cofagrius, the evolution of Yamask. Runerigus evolves from the Galarian Yamask, and while the original Yamask is an absolutely brutal tale, Galarian Yamask gets absorbed by the tablet it's holding after it loses 50 health and you ride under the stone bridge in Dusty Bowl. Runerigus was formed from a painting imbued with an ancient curse, which was activated by absorbing the spirit of Yamask and brought the painting to life. Anyone that touches the actual shadow-like body of Runerigus will have the memories behind the painting's creation forced onto them, probably in a painful way if I know anything about the Pokemon series. This is just brutal, and this is nothing new for the Pokemon series, honestly. This is just rude as hell. Like, first you're gonna destroy Yamask by making it remember its past life, and then you're gonna come at me saying it will also get absorbed and be forced to become Runerigus. That's just the most savage thing ever. Pokemon, why? And at 4, Golurk. Golurk is a beast. This guy is over 9 feet tall and weighs nearly as much as Wailord at 727 pounds. Golurk is a possessed automaton and is said to have served as a laborer to the ancient people who invented it. Somehow though, this absolute monster is able to fly by retracting its arms and legs and then rocketing off. But not only is he able to do that, you can also set him on edge. You can literally turn this Pokemon into a killbot by removing the seal on his chest. Doing so will cause his energy color to go from yellow to red, and he will start to fly around randomly, sometimes unable to land. But if he does land, he'll start attacking indiscriminately. He will attack anything and everything he wants to. It's also capable of firing energy beams, okay? And I don't care how many times Team Rocket has blasted off again, but you can't survive an unhinged Golurk Hyper Beam to the face. That's impossible. And at 3, Dawnwing's Necrozma. I wanted to avoid legendaries on this list because, well, they're all terrifying because they have an immense amount of power, but Necrozma is a ghost type legendary that we just can't avoid talking about. When combined with Lunala, we get Dawnwing's Necrozma, who is both psychic and ghost type, and while yes, it's not Necrozma's true form, it still makes me want to crap my pants. Have you seen Dawnwing's Necrozma? I haven't even played through Ultra Moon, but I want it, and yes, I do have Ultra Moon. I got it because I wanted to do some shiny hunting on my Twitch, but I wasn't in the mood to play through a Pokemon game, so I just had my starter and that was it. Either that or I was soft resetting for a shiny Rowlet. I can't remember, it was a while ago. Maybe I should go back and play that. I want to hunt all the stuff I can, especially that Mewtwo, because I want a shiny Mewtwo. Anyway, these Pokemon lists have really gotten me back into the Pokemon hype train. Might live stream some more things, hunting on my own, I don't know. No matter what though, this dude is absolutely horrifying, but also beautiful. It's very confusing. And at 2, Gengar. You can't have a scary ghost Pokemon list and not include Gengar. While Gengar is scary, he just hasn't held up when it comes to looking at later additions in the Pokemon lineup. I have him at number 2 because of the nostalgia and because if I didn't include him you would all hate me, and if I had put him any lower on the list I would have been burnt at the stake. But you can't deny that this is the original Shadow Scare Pokemon. The whole legend of it being Clefable Shadow and that it's probably a dead Clefable is terrifying. This guy will eat your dreams and cause you physical harm by doing so, and the Mega Evolution is terrifying. But I think the scariest part about Gengar is his shiny. At least we got something better in the shiny for Mega Gengar. I think the only thing Gengar has going for him is that tongue. Like, she asked me what that tongue do and I say, girl, I've been training Gengar for 10 years, I'll make you cry for a week. Finally, in at number 1, Majin. Okay, hold up, don't hate on me just yet. Majin is a real character that was present in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, and could only be fought in the Pokestar studio. He is a dark and ghost type that looks kinda like a tornado, kinda like the final Titan from Spider-Man Far From Home. This Pokemon will only appear in the Ghost Eraser series movie. Defeating this Pokemon is quite scary since you can only do it with status moves. Thanks to its ability Wonder Guard and typing of Ghost and Dark, it is actually immune to every type of move, unless you have a specific move, ability, and or item that will allow a super effective move to hit, usually a fighting type move. All other moves get blocked, which is actually insane. Sure, it's not a real Pokemon and you can only encounter it in a movie, but it's still a scary ghost type Pokemon because it's literally immune to everything unless you can overcome it with something like Odor Sleuth, Scrappy, a Ring Target, Mold Breaker, Turo Blaze, Terravolt, or Soak. If you can't, you're screwed, okay?
I know it's not a real Pokemon, but it's still a scary ghost type Pokemon. Get it?